Huh? Oh, what? You're here again? Oh, right, yeah. Only got half of it done. We're back to complete the second half of Fate Zero. So, quick recap of everything. Fate Zero was a light novel series of starred manga and anime to capitalize on typemoon's success was their hit Fate Stay Night. Acting as a prequel to the events of Fate Stay Night, it depicts the Fourth Holy Grail War and all the major events that leads to what happens in Stay Night itself. The Holy Grail War is simple. Gather 7 people to summon 7 magical beings to fight and power up a wish-granting artifact to achieve whatever wish you can. This Grail War ceremony has gone on for centuries now, but it so far has had no real winners. So why do they want to try again? Greed and hubris. That's why. Also, the truth of the Holy Grail War is that once it's completed, you can use it to unlock old lost ancient magic that only the gods have, so the major magic families are hungry for it. More details on how that works can be taken from the rest of my Fate videos. Now, back to Fate Zero itself. By the way, as I alluded to before, this is part 2, so go ahead and look at part 1 to get some more information about the events beforehand. Last time we had our first servant elimination, Assassin class, which is funny how Assassin pretended to be the first one to be eliminated, only to actually become the first one eliminated. Also, I know that the Assassin was used in the story to gauge the power of Alexander the Great, which is why the 100th Faces got eliminated, but still, a bit of a disappointing throw. Kirei Kotomine, Assassin's master who's currently working with Tokiyami Tozaka, and his servant Archer, Gilgamesh, that's the one from the epic poem, has been coming to terms with his sadistic side with aid from Gilgamesh. It seems that both are ready to start with some very nasty business. Artoria Pendragon, the female version of Arthur Pendragon, and current MC Kuritsugu Emiya are working together to try and get the Grail, while at the same time Artoria has to deal with some personal angst. Berserker is around, and he's secretly Lancelot, who is Karya Meito, who is trying to win the Grail to save his niece from the Meito family, while Alexander the Great is a rider and working with Waver, trying to get Waver to become a better person. Lancer Deerwood, the Irish seductive man, just had his original master become permanently handicapped and forced to give his role of master to his wife, who is obsessed with Deerwood due to Deerwood's enchanting love spot, sort of mind controls women. The last remaining servant and master duo is Gilderay Caster, who in real life killed a bunch of kids and served as Jean d'Arc in the past, and an in-universe serial killer, Ryunosuke Uryu, who are both currently excommunicados to the rest of the competition on account of all the senseless killing, and specifically children. So the Grail War is temporarily on pause as the side quest of getting rid of the two is activated, as Gil, thinking Artoria is Jean due to the whole Saberface issue, summons a Lovecraftian horror to attack the city. And now we start off with our other characters trying to stop him now. Gilgamesh, the overarching big bad in both this and Stay Night, is unamused with this fight and shows off some of his power by injuring the monster. Damage itself is superficial as the wounds regenerate immediately, and Gilgamesh decides to force Tosaka to leave with him. You can argue that he legitimately didn't want to stay and keep wasting his powerful weapons on this abomination, or he can also say that he's kind of embarrassed at the fact that he actively did try to take that thing out and couldn't do any meaningful damage to it. And now he was trying to save face and leave. It's Gilgamesh, so who knows. Anyways, Tosaka wants to stay so that he can claim victory over the monster, so that he can get back his lost command seal. Thankfully, he catches a temporary break as Lancelot is here now, to keep Gilgamesh interested. And Lancelot also now took over a jet and turned it into an evil jet. Gilgamesh and Lancelot now have a dogfight, while Karya Meita and Tokiyomi then face off against each other, as Tokiyomi explains why he gave up his own daughter to the Meitos to be tortured by bugs. Obsessed with magic and traditions and bloodlines, he believed that this was the way to ensure a powerful next generation of mages, even if that meant that one of them had to be tortured and then potentially had the two fight each other to the death in the future. Anyways, Kuritsugu finally found Ryunosuke and shoots him. While normally would mean that the servant from the master would be also eliminated due to the current situation of Eldritch Horror, Gil has enough power to remain self-sufficient. But this moment does allow the group that's trying to stop Gil to form a plan, while Tokiyomi very easily beats Karya by lighting him on fire. Can you tell where the budget went for this season? Akira, watching the fight, goes ahead and heals the nearly dead Karya as he liked the idea of causing more pain and chaos for this war. Artoria then reveals her sword, Excalibur, fully, and Deerwood removes Artoria's injury back from the first season of the story, allowing her to use her full power and attempts to attack Gil, only for Lancelot, after dealing with Gilgamesh, to attack her. King of Heroes spot check. Lancelot used the flares in his jet to destroy Gilgamesh's super powerful ancient magic ship. Granted, the flares were infused with Lancelot's chaos, angry berserker magic, but they're flares. They're the defense mechanism that somehow destroyed this super powerful ancient aircraft. Anyways, Deerwood sneaks onto the jet and then disables it while Gilgamesh destroys Lancelot's last weapon, his enchanted machine gun, which allows Artoria to fire her sword gun laser. Trust me, it's a thing. It doesn't make sense, but it does make sense. He's seeing the holy light embrace him, believes that is to be the light of Jean's embrace, and then explodes. His caster gone, we're now down to 5. Anyways, Gilgamesh proceeds to act like a creep as he leers at Artoria. He plans on making her his wife, which, is from ancient Mesopotamia, which makes sense, but still, not cool, dude. Which makes sense for why he's thinking like that, but still, not cool, dude. Though I guess he is the bad guy. After all this fighting, Solo, Deerwood's current master, is attacked by Maya, Kiritsugu's hitman assistant, and loses her arm. But she is more worried over the fact that she now won't be able to command Deerwood to love her over the fact that, well, someone just cut off her hand. Kira then uses this moment to reflect on how much she likes the idea of saving Karia, puts Tokiomi in danger, and makes Karia slightly more unhinged. Saving Karia puts Tokiomi in danger, the person whom he's meant to be helping. Again, part of darkness or something. Ganef, after the defeat of Caster, goes to claim the prize of the seal as technically because Deerwood released the Wound Curse that allowed Artoria to vanquish Gil. After being gifted the seal, Ganef is back in the game, and thanks Father Risei by killing him, now able to act all high and mighty again. That is until Kiritsugu and his friends arrive. Saber and Deerwood battle once more as Kiritsugu brings Sola in her nearly dead state to Ganef, and then uses her as a bargaining chip. Kiritsugu then forces Ganef to sign a magical contract that, in exchange for Ganef bowing out of the competition by having Deerwood commit seppuku, Kiritsugu will not kill him or his wife. Ganef, who prepared his entire life for this war, gives up in the name of love. Deerwood, angered by the underhanded tactics, curses Artoria and her hypocritical ways of chivalry. With Deerwood gone, Maya then shoots both Ganef and Sola as the contract never stopped her from getting rid of them, and Kiritsugu was thorough and wanted no loose ends. This action that Kiritsugu did behind Artoria's back completely shakes her trust of him, and she seems to see him as a truly broken, messed up man. Moving back to the Tosaka mansion, Kira is informed that his senior church head has been eliminated, and at the same time, Pierceville, Kiritsugu's wife, needs to recover from mana fatigue, though it seems that there's more than just that going on with her. As the servants players have, Tokiomi then offers the Alliance to get rid of Waver first. Iris encounters this offer with the idea that they should banish Kirei from Japan for the rest of the tournament, and after some good considerations, they split off and Iris reveals her body is breaking down as she isn't a real human, but a homunculi meant to carry the Grail once it activates. And with the Grail gaining more power with the eliminated servants, she's transforming closer into the Holy Grail, and thus that is why she was given the scabbard in the first place, to try and heal and keep herself healthy as much as possible. Kira then takes all the seals that Risei had on him as a dying gift, and Kira decides to give in to his wants. He tells Gilgamesh that with all the command seals on him, he's back in the game, and that Tokiomi secretly actually wants to access the root, which can only be done if he sacrificed Gilgamesh as well. So now Gilgamesh, who already liked Kira a lot more, decides to join him over Tokiomi. And right after Tokiomi invites Kira to his mansion again to talk about his banishment, Kira feigns agreement before stabbing Tokiomi in the back and takes command of Gilgamesh. Best laid plans and all that. Now with several command spells, Gilgamesh is fully healed and powered up. The two set their sights on the remaining members. With that, we get some Emiya backstory. Kiritsugu Emiya as a kid on Alimongo Island, being shown around the place by this girl named Shirley, whom he has a crush on. He and his father were currently on the run from the Mage Association, and his dad took time to practice his time magic here. After some time living here, and having Shirley assist his dad with experience, and Kiritsugu just being a kid, disaster strikes, as Shirley, trying to help speed up the process of Kiritsugu's father's magic experiments, drank a potion that turned herself into a vampire. Damn it, I thought I managed to avoid this fate. Anyways, it gets worse, and soon the whole village/town/island thing is infected. What is this ridiculous amount of heresy going on? The church and Maids Association then come in to purge the place, burning down every home and killing everyone. Well, everyone except for little Emiya, as he is found by Natalia Kaminsky, a freelancer who took this job and took pity on Kiritsugu and explained to him what was happening. Turns out his dad caused his infection for the sake of his research. Then the two confront his dad, who reveals that all of this was for his research, as he wants to turn into a dead apostle, which is basically just a very powerful vampire. that he wasn't done with his research and was more than willing to continue his plans and research of evil. Thankfully, before I need to explain anything more about vampires, Kuritsugu mercifully shoots his mad scientist father. No vampires for me today! Hooray! Anyways, now with a positive KD ratio, he is taken in by Natalia and their journey as magic mercs begin. Years pass and Kuritsugu obtains his anti-magic bullets and grows up with Natalia and learns a lot of things as they take jobs fighting those who use magic for evil, thus beginning his dream of being a hero of justice, with a lot of death and repressed emotions. You can see the life in his eyes slowly die out as time goes on. More time passes, and on their last mission together, they were to stop Magnus, who he too was also making dead apostles, goddammit, and trying to control them along with evil bees of poison. Natalia boards a jumbo jet with the Magnus to finish him off while Emiya takes care of those still on the ground. Unfortunately, the Magnus' body was filled with bees, and they pour out of him and bullify the passengers. Then, after a Resident Evil mission, Natalia takes control of the ship and seems to have taken care of the bees, and undead and was planning to land the plane safely somewhere. While Natalia was currently fine, there were still a few bees around, though really they should be called wasps. I mean, look at them. They lingered around the plane, and there was a real risk that they could escape once the plane landed. So, Mitsugu, who, as I mentioned before, was very thorough, and also just full-on insane, was adamant of stopping all evil, and didn't want to risk what would happen if a bee, a wasp, or whatever, did escape. So, as Natalia gives him a true heart-to-heart reflecting on their days together, seeing herself as a true mother to him, he proceeds to blow her up. This callous action truly broke the man, killing his mother figure in a scenario that he knew that he didn't necessarily need to do, but did so to guarantee that nothing goes wrong, not realizing that actually by doing so, something really went wrong within himself. Though, to be fair, she may have kind of groomed him. Anyways, with this additional psychotic break, Kuritsugu Emiya has now become the Magnus Killer. Now, back to the present. With Iris slowly turning into an inanimate object, she gives the healing scabbard back to Kuritsugu, as he's going to need it a lot more than her. She says her thanks for allowing her to live a life of a human for 9 years, fall in love, and have a kid. Waver, on the other hand, is camping in the woods to regenerate his strength, as he's not the strongest mage in this game, and will need everything he has to use Alex to his full potential. He also has a heart-to-heart with Alex in his invisible form, explaining how he wants to show that even as a simple boy, he too can do the impossible. And Alex relates to him. He talks about how much he wanted to reach Okeanos, that's the actual Greek titan, that's the god of the great river that encircled the entire world in ancient Greek mythology, only for Alex to be devastated when he realized that the Earth was actually round, once he was given the modern day info. Though, in reality, Alexander the Great was an educated man, and most educated Greeks would have known at this point that the Earth was indeed round. The real Alexander just liked the idea of ruling over everything, as he truly thought of himself as a demigod. Alex also then warns Waver that he likely won't generate enough power to be at full power for the rest of this war. Alex also mentions how he wishes to fight Artoria himself, in order to teach her how to be a proper king. Buddy, you immediately shattered your entire empire after dying from tummy troubles. I don't think you have a leg to stand on here. At least in the Arthurian tales, Arthur loses everything after having to deal with a literal evil magic incest baby and a massive rebellion that occurs when she was overseas, or he. Different gendered Arthurs makes explaining Arthurian legends confusing. Anyways, Tara is both being tortured and powered up with Meito insect magic, getting a boost of magic stolen straight from his sweet niece Sakura. At the same time, Iris and Maya take some time as a repair and talk about Maya's life, as how she was a child soldier with no memory of family before Kuritsugu took her in. Unfortunately, this heart-to-heart is interrupted when they're attacked by Alexander. Iris is taken, Maya is killed. Kuritsugu is sad, and Artoria chases after Alex. Artoria uses a motorbike that's powered by her magic. Yes, she can do that, don't ask questions. She ain't the only Saberface that's gonna do that either. Alex then races her, and eventually they come to a standstill where Artoria realizes that Alex and Waver don't actually have Iris with them. Kuritsugu, meanwhile, attacks the Meito's house and interrogates Byakuya Meito, Karia's brother, and father of the future character Shinji. Though Byakuya had no part in this war and has no idea what's going on, so he's just needlessly tortured. Speaking of Karya, he's with Kira, and Kira is now in his full sadist arc, so he proceeds to convince Karya to have Lancelot fight Artoria as long as Lancelot no like Artoria. Also, to deepen Karya's trust, Kira replenishes Karya's command seals, and also it turns out that it wasn't actually Alex that took Iris, but in fact, it was Lancelot. As Lancelot in Arthurian legend had disguised himself as other knights in the past. Dokamato then confronts Kira and explains that he is aware of the games being played by Kira, as Artoria now has a duel with Alex. Mato also reveals how he would almost rather see his own son suffer and fail than win the Grail, obtain the powerful Grail. And he also relates to Kira's love and suffering of others. Then he leaves the conversation as Artoria meanwhile nearly blasts Alex into oblivion. His chariot is destroyed and Artoria realizes that these two actually don't have Iris, so she leaves them and goes back on the hunt. Karya then enters the church, eager to find Tokiomi, whom was there according to the information given to him by Kira, only for Karya to find that Tokihime is already dead. Then Aoi Tosaka, his childhood crush and wife of Tokiomi, then enters the church and sees Karya standing over her husband's dead body. She obviously assumes the worst of the situation, and Karya, who's already pretty mentally broken due to all the brainworms inside his, well, brain, at this point then lashes out after the accusations made from her and proceeds to strangle her. Well, I must say, that is some really bad strangling form. Aoi probably should have been able to escape from his clutches. Gilgamesh and Kira are enjoying the show while sipping on wine and excitedly waiting for the next tragedy, because you know, bad guys. Waver, meanwhile, trudges back home due to the fact that Alex lost their ride, and returns back to the home where he's staying at. He had been using magic to trick the two elders into believing that he was their grandson in order to comp free meals and have a warm place to stay. The spell somehow comes undone, maybe from Waver's lack of mana, or maybe something else with all the different inconsistencies. But instead of being mad, the old man appreciated the company that Waver and Alex offered them, and how Waver was willing to act like a good grandson to them, while their real grandchildren never actually visited them once. It made them happy to have Waver around, and he proceeded to invite him to stay a little bit longer. He also tells Waver that whatever he's trying to do, it isn't worth dying for, as they watch the sunrise. Enough of that lightheartedness, the search for Iris continues. Iris is now one-on-one with Kira, says that he's not worthy of the Grail, which then enrages Kira, who then does some strangling. The light novel, it's just until she passes out, but here in the anime, he does so until her neck broke. After Waver, he and Alex have the ominous feeling that the finale was about to begin, and then the finale begins. Waver uses his last two command seals to power up Alex and thus freeing him, only for Alex to acknowledge Waver as a true friend and an equal, something that Waver longed for years while studying at the Mage Association, to be recognized for his own merits and ability. Kinda funny how, in contrast, the Grand Order main character immediately gets the respect and friendship of one of the head doctors of the Sheldia organization, which is run in part by the Mages Association, as well as the fact that he got a senior member to immediately see him as a senior figure that should be respected, despite the fact that this was them immediately waking up right after some amnesia. Now, as the evildoers plot, Iris' consciousness is connected to the Grail, and as the Grail be the Grail, be evil. She then goes through a small nightmare where the Grail takes her as the vessel fully. Alex and Gilgamesh then meet one last time to share a drink and prepare for a battle against one another. Alex is missing a few of his weapons now, and while he does have a temporary boost from the command seals, he also just got blasted by its saber not 24 hours ago. He is pretty outgunned in this situation. It also doesn't help that Alex's best weapon, his noble phantasm, is just to summon a bunch of guys to fight for him, while Gilgamesh, Artoria, and Lancelot, the remaining three fighters, all have an ability that deals with horde control, you know. Also, at the same time as Gilgamesh and Alex prepare for their duel, Artoria and Lancelot have one as well. Lancelot challenges the filthy casual to parry this. She does so. Artoria at the same time is having a psychotic break with all the bugs in his brain. Artoria during their fight pieces together that Lancelot knows exactly who she is, and she decides to ask him to unveil himself, which he proceeds to do. Lancelot, most powerful pucker in Arthurian legend. Artoria is horrified and confused why her trusted knight hates her so. Even though Lancelot's portrayal in the bedchambers and subsequently out on the field is well known by Arthur in the old Arthurian tales, this one is a shock to her. But it does hold with the narrative of fate where Artoria, at least this version of Artoria, really is naive in many things, not quite understanding the fact that Lancelot wanted to be punished for his crimes against Artoria, not forgiven by her virtuousness. and this lack of punishment drove him mad. Back was Gilgamesh and Alex. Gilgamesh uses the Sword of Rupture, also known as EA. It's in the game. Or just EA. Powerful sword that is in essence a one-of-a-kind weapon that breaks reality and its rules. It is a cheat item. You just point it at something and it basically bypasses everything. It counters Alex's ability, destroying his army in the Oasis and ending the fight just like that. Alex then drops Waver off and charges straight at Gilgamesh, hoping to land a blow on him, only to be caught in Gilgamesh's chains and stabbed by Ea. Now, this moment makes Gilgamesh look like an unstoppable force, considering the last time Alex used this, he easily eliminated another servant, albeit it was the weakest combat servant out there. So this does make it look like there's a wall that Artoria must overcome as she's continuing to struggle and become weakened by Lancelot, who's been bigged up as a very powerful servant this entire time. And, a guy who actually landed a hit on Gilgamesh and destroyed one of his powerful artifacts. It also helps that if you were a fan of Fate's Stay Night and recognized the sword, you would have a great appreciation of this moment. But at the same time, this sort of damages Alex's whole shtick. His best moment was just to have a bunch of dudes run forward and stab his enemies. Ian, in comparison, doesn't really have many fun or unique attacks. Oh yeah, also he jumped Lancelot that one time, I guess. He, in comparison to the others, really doesn't have any unique or fun attacks. I mean, his best thing, the chariot, just got destroyed earlier. He doesn't participate in any elegant duels like Dirvud did, nor did he create any big eldritch abomination like Gil. His final fight just round up with him running across a bridge, hoping for the best. This moment does give Waver a chance to learn and grow. Alex is really just an aura farmer, doesn't do much else. Gilgamesh then leaves, letting Waver leave due to the fact that Waver really can't do much anymore. And also, Alex did like Waver, and Gilgamesh sort of respected Alex, so Waver can grieve. But with one fight done, a new one begins, as Kuretsugu finally finds Kirei, and they have a fight. Kuretsugu's anti-magic bullets don't work on Kirei, as Kirei is powering all his weapons with his command seals instead of his own magic, meaning that his own mana source is left unharmed while the command seal is simply used up. And he's got plenty of command seals left to spare. Kirei then uses his karate.
Have mastered the lethal Japanese hand-to-hand combat art of karate.
As Artoria is busy questioning why Lancelot is now a berserker as she continues their battle. Iris, now powered up even more with Alex's defeat, turns fully into the Grail. MILF waifu, no more. But Kuretsugu counters Kirei's karate with gun, and gun works. Also, his wounds are all healing due to the scabbards. The battles continue as the Grail begins to leak black mud. And before the fight between the two can conclude, the mud swallows both of them as Artoria finally slays Lancelot. Now inside the Grail's world, Kuretsugu is greeted by the Grail using Iris as a vessel to try and manipulate him, showing him the worst parts of his past trying to corrupt him. But you can't break what's already broken, and Kuretsugu says no to the temptation, killing both the illusions of his daughter, Alia, and Iris. What is with this series and Hollywood shows? Anyways, freeing himself from the mud, he has Kirei beat. Kirei begs for Kuretsugu not to destroy the Grail before Kuretsugu takes him out. Artoria, meanwhile, confronts both the Grail and Gilgamesh. Heavily wounded from her battle with Lancelot, she faces a pretty fresh Gilgamesh. At this point, one might expect an underdog duel between the two, but Artoria is just too wounded, and that would have to wait until Stay Night to happen. Instead, Artoria is just struck a few times by Gilgamesh as he plays around with her. And when I say play around with her, I mean so in an uncomfortable way, as that is the exact tone that they are trying to convey. It's funny making this video and reflecting back on how some people for some reason considered the Fate Zero counterpart of Gilgamesh to be much nicer than the Stay Night version. Even saying that he does nothing actually evil, which is a pretty crazy claim considering everything. But the fact is, he's never shown to be a good redeeming character in either of these two series. He's not even pitiable. He's just been portrayed as an unstoppable bully that our heroes must somehow overcome. Later on in the series, he has full babyface runs, but these two are his first proper introductions, and he's never been portrayed as a good person. Even his prototype version had more redeeming parts about him, and that was because he was part of the love triangle, harem, square, that involve the main character. I mean, he's a very effective antagonist in this manner, as the only two people he ever vaguely respected were Alex and Kira, and one was a crazy person who enjoyed the suffering of others, who conquered nations and slaughtered hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people in his wake. Gilgamesh's character has always been consistent with being a big bully. It also explains his subsequent downfall both in this and later on, as when Kira joins the mix, Gilgamesh, he doesn't really see him as a threat, as Gilgamesh has already taken care of Alex and Artoria is already wounded and pretty much handled. At this point, some emo depresso wasn't going to stop Gilgamesh. But that's where he was wrong, and Kira uses all his command skills he had been saving up and forces Artoria to destroy the Holy Grail. As Artoria dreams of attaining the Grail is shattered, she reflects on how she never once got to truly understand the people she worked with. And with the Grail successfully destroyed, it wants payback and proceeds to explode out with its evil mud, cover as much of the city as it can with it. Gilgamesh drowns in it, as Kiritsugu is horrified as the city burns and he desperately tries to save at least someone. It's not going very well for him. Ilya is in Europe waiting for her two parents to return, not knowing that they will never come back. In the meantime, Karya is still sort of alive with bugs in his system, and also eliminated from the game because, you know, Lancelot's gone. With only losing a servant, he doesn't need to necessarily die, and now since he lost, he then returns back to Amato's mansion and picks up Sakura from the blood pit. Okay, I'm gonna blatantly spoil what happens next. Karya simply hallucinates that he takes Sakura out of the mansion and back with Rin, and then Aoi Tosaka is there and she then declares her love for him, and he has now obtained 2 adopted daughters and a loving wife. With this final dream, he then collapses and dies as the bugs take over and push him into the bug pit and eat him. Sakura, fully broken at this point, acknowledges that he was a fool for trying in the first place. Kira then wakes up as the Grail kept him alive with an artificial heart connecting him to Gilgamesh, whose heroic body was destroyed and replaced with a human one. It still has all his magic powers, it's just that he's human now, so he's going to age and need sleep and stuff. And also, he's naked. Kira, realizing that he's technically now just an undead walking corpse, proceeds to laugh and decides that if he was going to be soulless, he was going to be soulless to the max. And he will search for his own new purpose. Really, it just means that he's gonna hurt a bunch of teenagers a few years from now, but you do you, man. Then we're introduced to a new Emiya. Shiro Emiya. The only person who Kiritsugu was able to save that day, and with saving Shiro, he was able to make dwindling sanity. The next day, Waver is back with the elderly Mackenzie couple and asks if he could stay there for just a little longer, as he wants to try and explore the world a bit. Tired of worrying about magic studies, do what Alex said and live alone. Elsewhere, Aoi Tosaka is alive, yay, meaning that Rin still has a mom, with brain damage, so she won't have a mom in the next series. Spoilers. Kira then offers to act as a guardian for young Rin and lies to her a lot, and enjoys Rin being sad that her dad's dead, because, you know, real messed up. Meanwhile, while the other heroic spirits are sort of in limbo waiting to be summoned from the throne of heroes, Artoria's just in hell, reliving the death of her kingdom and Lancelot telling her that she has always wished that she had punished him for his crimes in the past. Days and turn to weeks. Weeks which then turn into months, as Kiritsugu settles down in Fuyuki City with Shiro as his new adopted son. And Shiro takes on the Emiya family dream of being a hero of justice. It's going to end about as well for him as it did with his dad. Well, I guess there are exceptions, but still. But with that, the stage is set. Grail was never fully completed. The magic needed to be used. The wish must be granted. First it must repair. That would take a few years, but considering the fact that this ward wasn't ever fully completed, it didn't need to wait 60 years to finish. We'll just need another 10. And in 10 years' time, Gilgamesh would have gone into hiding, drinking his baby juice serum to turn himself into a baby so that he can grow up in 10 years. Rin will have no family left, and Sakura will be abused heavily by her adopted cousin brother. Everything was set for a very 5 out of 10 erotica that had a story that somehow did more heavy lifting than the adult scenes. Though, to be fair, at least 1/3 of the adult scenes were just sad, but the story itself was really good. So sit tight and wait as I plan on bringing you the next installment of the Fate timeline. Fate Stay Night. What do you mean there's Fate Labyrinth? What do you mean that there's Fate Prototype? I don't need to talk about Prototype, do I? It's not that important. What do you mean I gotta go space first? What do you mean I gotta talk about the moon? Fate/Ilya? I gotta talk about that? Oh god. There's so much of it left. Oh no. Extra? Even a thing that has the 3 games, which is a turn-based grinding JRPG. Well, I'll be back to this eventually. Please like and subscribe as I try to retain my sanity. Let's get this going. See ya. Aw.